A 150-meter-long line vessel leaves harbor behind, heading for distant reef edges where giant groupers still patrol.
On deck, drums of industrial longline and racks of gear show this is built for serious deep reef work.
Secure that line!
On deck, drums of industrial longline and racks of gear show this is built for serious deep reef work.
Every branch line carries a big circle hook, baited heavy for the massive jaws of a true giant grouper.
The crew walks the main line, checking every crimp and clip, knowing one weak point can cost a record fish.
Tubs of oily bait wait on deck, their scent soon to flow down current over steep reef drops and ledges.
In the wheelhouse, the captain traces contour lines by hand, choosing ledges where giant groupers are most likely to sit.
Watch the line! Heave!
Weights and anchors are clipped into place, pinning the long line to the reef slope rather than letting it drift uselessly. Branch lines snap on one after another, building a kilometer-long chain of baited circle hooks in the dark water column. The hull glides along the reef margin, dropping its first line across slopes few divers will ever see firsthand. Before hooks hit depth, the crew reviews signals and hazards, because a loaded long line is unforgiving steel.
Away! Go, go, go!
A heavy anchor and buoy vanish first, staking the starting point of a baited path across the unseen reef slope.
Mainline and branch lines pour into the sea, each bait drifting toward the depth zone giant groupers prefer.
Behind the vessel, buoys mark an invisible roadway of hooks and bait, laid along the contour of the drop-off.
Below the wake, a rain of baited circle hooks sinks quietly toward ledges where heavy-bodied predators wait.
Along one ledge, a giant grouper hovers in place, its heavy body perfectly matched to the broken reef below.
Bait settle into position above rock, left to work slowly as scent begins to drift along the contour.
Soon, a line of baits hangs across the slope, watched from the shadows by several hulking grouper shapes. On the surface, the vessel waits and watches its own buoys, while the real decisions happen far below.
Curiosity and scent finally pull one giant grouper out from cover, its bulk drifting toward a dangling meal.
It takes the bait in one slow gulp, the circle hook rolling cleanly into the jaw hinge as the fish turns away.
Shocked by sudden pressure, the grouper drives for deeper rock, testing every crimp along the loaded branch line.
On deck, tension spikes through the roller, the crew instantly recognizing the heavy, stubborn pull of something big.
Tight!
The fish shows its full bulk at last, a living boulder pushing sideways along the rock wall against the line.
Line grates over rock as the grouper tries to hole up, doing everything it can to use the terrain against the gear.
Instruments at the longline station swing high, confirming that this is no small reef fish bouncing on the hook.
For long minutes, the fish refuses to move, hanging in one spot and turning strain into a grinding stalemate. Farther along the line, another giant circles slowly, drawn close but still undecided at its own baited hook. A second bite rolls the hook into place, doubling the load now hanging from the same stretch of mainline.
Two massive bodies now pull in different directions, spreading strain across the system instead of sharing it.
The crew clips into harness points around the hauler, preparing to manage weight that could tear metal loose.
Safety on!
At last, the fish begins to give ground, gills flaring as the line drags its head higher off the rock.
Freed from its ledge, the grouper's full profile hangs against open water, a slab of muscle forced off the bottom.
At the drum, power is dialed back, turning brute force into a controlled lift that respects knots and crimps.
Slowly, both fish are teased away from sharp rock, the crew buying back the safety margin they nearly lost. Suspended in mid-water, the groupers switch from using rock to using weight, circling under the rising mainline. The hook stays exactly where it should, lodged in bone, holding without tearing soft tissue or slipping free.
Watch it! Hands and eyes stay fixed on the line, guarding against chafe or sudden surges that could drag a man forward.
It tries one last deep surge, but the line checks the move, turning its drive back into slow, reluctant ascent. Fatigue creeps in, flaring gills and slowing fins, as oxygen demand outpaces what the heavy fish can draw.
A close look shows why the system works. Metal buried in the jaw hinge instead of throat or gills. While the fish climbs unseen, the crew readies lifting straps, planning how to move that mass without nets.
Soon, both giants hang between reef and surface, their silhouettes drifting under a brightening ceiling of light.
Its true bulk shows now, a mottled slab of fish turning slowly as exhaustion overtakes stubbornness.
Two hooked groupers now share the same line, their combined weight tugging constantly at steel and rope above. Gravity and pressure give way to slow upward glide as the main line keeps pulling the fish toward the surface.
At the rail, guides and straps are staged, turning a chaotic moment at the surface into a controlled lift.
Back up on.
A backup strap clips into the leader, insurance against hardware failure when the grouper's full weight shows itself.
At the surface, water explodes around a thick, mottled back, the grouper finally breaking into view without breaching.
Look at the size of that!
The crew catches their first full glimpse, a huge head and shoulders rolling just under the foam beside the hull.
Just beneath the chop, the grouper's full side shows, body depth rivaling the height of the rail above it.
Get the tail!
A tail strap is eased into place, securing the fish's rear half without resorting to nets that could damage its body.
Now the grouper settles on its side just under the surface, momentarily still as the crew prepares the final hoist.
Head and tail lines come together at the lifting point, turning wild weight into a manageable, balanced load.
Now the grouper settles on its side near the surface, momentarily still as the crew prepares the final hoist.
Winches engage, and the fish's head breaks free of the sea, its sheer bulk finally obvious in open air.
For a few seconds it hangs above the deck, a massive, naturally giant grouper, framed against steel and sky.
Steady! Down!
The load settles onto the deck, men rushing in to secure head and tail before tension is taken off the gear.
Steady! Down!
The load settles onto the deck, men rushing in to secure head and tail before tension is taken off the gear.
342.
Length and girth numbers come next, translating the fish's raw presence into the hard metrics of record and value.
From above, the grouper dominates the deck space, a single fish large enough to reshape the day's catch tally. With the fish finally settled on deck, the crew circles in, taking in the true size of their hard-won prize.
A deck scale confirms what everyone suspected. This giant grouper pushes deep into genuine record-class numbers.
Length and girth are logged carefully, turning the fish's massive frame into hard data for science and management.
Up close, the head chews its true scale, broad lips and heavy bone, meant for crushing reef prey in darkness.
Slide it under!
A wide sling is rigged beneath the carcass, spreading weight across fabric instead of letting steel cut into flesh.
The hoist runs again, this time not against the fish, but for it, carrying the catch toward the cold darkness below.
In the hold, the big fish takes center position on layered ice, surrounded by smaller but still hefty groupers.
The hold shows a single story, thick-bodied groupers packed on ice. No slender pelagics or mixed species confusion.
The hold shows a single story, thick-bodied groupers packed on ice. No slender pelagics or mixed species confusion.
With the big fish secured below, the crew turns back to work, rebuilding the line for another run along the reef.
Hooks are rebaited quickly, every piece of cut bait another chance at a heavy-bodied grouper on the slope.
The captain lays a fresh line across new structure, exploring ledges where pressure from other fleets is lighter.
Below the vessel,
Another field of baited hooks takes position over cracks and shelves favored by big groupers. Smaller groupers hesitate, testing the water around the hooks, while something heavier hangs back in deeper shadow.
From a cave mouth, another giant appears, its head alone nearly as broad as a man's chest at the rail above. It slams back toward the cave, but the line checks the move, dusting the reef in silt instead of hiding the fish.
On deck, another surge hits the main line, and hands return to the controls for a second heavy fight. Hit! We got another!
The grouper trades overhead rock for open water, circling under the main line as it tires against the constant pull.
This time the load is heavy but predictable, letting the crew manage the lift without flirting with the breaking point.
Another thick back rolls at the surface, proof that the new line has produced a second genuine giant.
Strap on! Hoist!
The team repeats their pattern, tailstrap and headline working together to turn live power into controlled weight.
With two giants secured below, the rest of the line comes home, hooks cleared and coiled for the next season.
At last the bow swings away from the reef, leaving quiet slopes behind and pointing toward distant port lights.
In the mess, hot food chases off the chill while men replay the fights that bent steel and tired shoulders.
Sleep comes in short stretches, measured not in comfort, but in miles left to steam before unloading.
Morning reveals harbor walls ahead, the transition point between offshore risk and shoreside business.
The hull settles against rubber fenders, trading moving water for the hard horizontal of the loading dock.
Fenders!
Below the hatch, rows of broad-shouldered groupers appear, every fish from the same deep reef family.
Clear below!
Tubs of iced groupers swing ashore, shifting the weight of the trip from steel deck to concrete floor.
The biggest fish earns its own table, where buyers and graders can see every detail of its condition.
The color looks good and the firmness is excellent.
Agreed. I'll issue the certificate now.
The fish rolls onto stainless steel, leaving the dock for a controlled environment built to handle large carcasses.
A long blade follows the backbone, releasing a slab of dense, clean, white grouper flesh from the heavy frame.
As you can see, this giant grouper fillet is incredibly thick and pristine. We handle it with the utmost care to maintain that perfect translucency.
The fillet becomes loins and steaks, each cut preserving the firm, mild meat prized by chefs for big plate dishes.
Trays enter the flash freezer, locking in freshness instantly.
Vacuum packs slide into cartons, each bag showing unmistakable white grouper flesh through the clear plastic.
Wrapped pallets roll into a reefer truck, the next cold link between offshore ledges and city kitchens.
Inside, grouper cartons stand alone, secured and chilled, protected from vibration and warm air leaks.
In a service alley, cartons change hands again, crossing from freight carriers to kitchen staff in seconds.
In the kitchen, a chef inspects the loin, recognizing the dense, white grain that holds up to bold cooking methods.
Grouper hits hot pans, building a crisp crust outside while the interior stays tender and moist.
On the plate, the fish takes center stage, surrounded only by simple sides meant to frame, not who, its flavor.
Order up, service.
And here we have the giant grouper. Enjoy your meal.
A fork breaks the crust cleanly, exposing white flakes that speak of cold depths and heavy industrial gear.
Delicious.
Around the table, conversation rises as plates empty. The story of the fish now part of their own.
By night's end, only a few pieces remain. The bulk of the catch already transformed into memories and receipts.
The dining room falls quiet again, its connection to deep reef ledges hidden behind polished glass and linens.
Back at the quay, the longline vessel rests, gear dripping salt water in the fading light.
In the wheelhouse, the captain circles productive ledges, planning quietly for seasons that have not yet opened.
Drums sit empty for now, their lines coiled tight and waiting for the next run along the reef edge.
The harbor glows softly, big hulls lined up side by side, each with its own story of risk and reward.
Far offshore, the reef slopes look empty again, their heavy-bodied residents settling back into shadowed caves.
From above, the reef is only white lines and blue water, hiding the complex world that giant groupers call home.
A lone buoy marks safe passage, one of the few signs of human presence above the steep, unseen drop-offs below.
A lone buoy marks safe passage, one of the few signs of human presence above the steep, unseen drop-offs below.
The hunt for giant grouper pauses here.
But the deep reef slopes and their heavy guardians remain.